With the film program at Portland State, there wasn't as much pressure for me as someone who didn't have filmmaking background. For a lot of bachelor's programs I looked at elsewhere, you had to like already have a portfolio. I found it easier to make films in Portland because I think people just seemed friendlier toward the idea of filmmaking. They're like, oh, you're making a film. And they weren't like sick of filmmaking. When I was 18, I moved to Switzerland after high school, and
Wow.
I worked in a boarding school in the Swiss Alps. Thought I would do something different. And that program was actually recommended to me by my German teacher. There was a boarding school called L'École d'Humanité where they accepted gap year students that they called helpers. And the helpers lived at the boarding school and they basically just helped out and for free in exchange for room and board and a stipend, which is like enough to buy beer. So I guess to get the chronology right, it was Switzerland, interning at New Times and going to Questa College, and then Germany. And then I got the job at New Times when I got back from Germany a few months later. They just happened to have an opening when I got back. And then after I quit New Times, and then I went to Portland State, and here I am. So I had been interning at a newspaper and there was a position that opened up in the arts section. And so I started out at the very bottom as an arts intern and worked my way up to a contributor and eventually became an arts writer. I guess I kind of used the credentials of international relations to sort of get a job in journalism, but then I ended up totally focusing on arts and leaving everything else behind and not missing it at all. So I worked at a newspaper writing about the arts for 3.5 years as an editor. And then I decided to get a bachelor's degree. I went back to school. So that's when I went to PSU. And when you do that at PSU, it's really fun. You can kind of double dip with some of your electives. So I could do like video art, which would count for both things. Well, I think it's both. I recognize the difference between journalism and documentary. When I'm working on documentaries, I don't want to just be commenting on a subject. I think because I wrote about art, my work was commenting on art, and people would say, "Oh, you write well about art. Are you an artist?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm not an artist. I write about art in documentary. I am an artist." I'm also making subjective works that have like my own personality and my own stamp on them that I want to be works of art in themselves, not just documents or commentary. My job out of PSU was doing archive research. You ended up looking at a lot of YouTube videos. One of my like treats was to go just like watch a video of what are people wearing in this city, and people kind of get interviewed about their clothes. I learned a lot from Stalker because it definitely kind of taught me how to think outside the box in terms of using existing footage, using archive, and also just now I have a mental spreadsheet of all of the different libraries that I could possibly go in of images and where they are. It does really help you. It's so easy. The comparison between the US and the UK for postgraduate programs, it showed me that it was much easier elsewhere. In the US, it was much longer applications, and they often required some kind of original content to be produced. Like you had to write an essay on a theme that they gave you. So it was like a lot more of a time investment. And I spent anywhere between like $60 and over $100 per application and pay for college applications. When it came to the interviews, I actually found universities in the United Kingdom less formal. They were a bit more like friendly. They're just kind of like, I just want to see who you are and if you really are interested in this program. And then when I did them like with Chapman, for example, or Northwestern, at Chapman, it was very quick. And then there was a written part where you had to respond to a prompt within 10 minutes and submit it. In the UK, it was just like one-on-one with the course leader. Everything about it was easier. It's a lot cheaper. That's why I'm not at
Mm.
Chapman. I got an international scholarship, which is about £3,000 off of my tuition. I think my tuition would have been £13,000 per year, and now it's £10,000 per year. I can still get federal loans, so
Oh,
I have a loan from the U.S. government through the FAFSA, just the same as if I were studying in the U.S. This is why I don't understand why more people don't do this. In Leeds, there are a lot of regional and national broadcaster is based here. So there is a lot of like TV work happening here. There's BBC has a hub here, and there's also ITV, Channel 4. So a lot of people do graduate from filmmaking programs here and stay here working in the industry. We got this like freak opportunity to film something for the BBC during the pandemic. We know someone who's an opera singer who went viral with this clip. There was a woman who was practicing singing the national anthem in PSU in 2020 for the graduation. Henri, this guy that we know, was just walking along and happened to see her and started singing with her, and then they didn't even know it was being like filmed. And then that clip ended up going viral, like this opera singer coming in off the street and just starting to sing with this woman from PSU. Then like the Black Lives Matter protests kind of like kicked off. Henri, who's a singer, he's Black. He's like one of the few Black opera singers in the Northwest. He started going to demonstrations and singing opera. All these news broadcasters wanted to do stories about him, but were stuck where they were. And so we ended up getting this gig. They're like, we never hire freelancers. We're just literally stuck. It was just like knowing someone. So like I knew Henri. If I had gone looking for that, I never would have heard back. Goiter, which is, it's hard to describe what it is. It's a self-portrait that's also like a history of the thyroid through artistic representation. And I used a lot of images from the Renaissance and specifically like the Baroque period in Italy, because there are a lot of depictions of people with like kind of like swollen looking necks. And I was like, I was curious how that was or why that was. And so I went on this sort of documentary exploration of, like iodine deficiency and Renaissance Italian diets. If someone responds to my work, I'm always happy about that. I do have a thing on my website that's like, contact me with new ideas and projects, because I'm always open to pitches of things. Just interesting ideas or collaborations. Thank you so much. Take care.